Rocco Williams, defensive back.
This is RJ Moreno, running back.
This is Noah Drum, wide receiver.
This is Mason Meyer, defensive end.
This is Johnny Knight, defensive back.
This is Dylan Cahill, slot receiver.
This is Gage Leggett, defensive back, and you're listening to Georgetown Eagle Football on SHN Sports.
Hey, good afternoon, Burger University. Everybody in the house hear us? Chuck, can you hear us in the back? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Eagle Nation Coaches Show live here on SHN Sports. I'm your host and radio play-by-play voice of the Georgetown Eagles, Rob Hipp. Wanted to welcome everybody here. Can we please, is there any first-time guests here tonight or anybody that's in here that doesn't even know what's going on? Can you raise your hand? Zane Haas is in here, but he knows what's up. And welcome, Miss Seosin. Good to have you. Let's give a round of applause for our first-time guests in here, as we sincerely appreciate you being here tonight. Well, for those of you that are here for the first time, this is our weekly coaches show that we have every Wednesday here at 6 o'clock as we talk Georgetown Eagle football. At this time, please join me in a round of applause as we welcome Georgetown Eagle head football coach Jason Dean. Come on up, Coach. Coach Dean, as always, we appreciate you, sir, and your accessibility this season. Thanks, as always, for being here. As we've got a few things to talk about here this afternoon. You know, Coach, on the road, we don't have to talk about too much. A lot of folks were there, but we lost a tough contest versus a very good 4A team in Stephenville, 8-48 the final score. Georgetown now 3-1 with district play opening on Friday. How many people are excited that district play is finally here? Finally. It seems like we've been in limbo, and we're finally here for district play. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit, Coach. The only score for Georgetown last week on Friday coming in the second quarter, Noah Drum on the 6-yard touchdown pass from Jackson Seosin. At that point, the score was 8-3 after the 2-point conversion. Seosin finished 25-37, 217 for 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in the game. 6 total turnovers, though, for Georgetown in this game. 3 of those the interceptions, but also 3 fumbles. Stephenville, no turnovers in the game for them. On the stat line, Coach, you know, things seem to be comparable except the turnovers and, of course, the final score. But, Coach, first of all, let's talk about the toughness of this Stephenville team. You know, at the coaches show last week, you talked about Georgetown, and this is no joke with the 4A team out of Stephenville. These guys came to play, and they played well.
You know, they did. A lot of people talk about the 4A and 5A and 6A and all that kind of stuff. Rob, really that has to do with numbers, you know, and it has to do with how many numbers are in your high school. But more specifically for me, I look at how many numbers you have in your football program, you know, and Stephenville has just as many kids playing football in Stephenville High School as what we do at Georgetown. And Georgetown has just as many kids playing football as Westwood High School, which is a 6A high school, much larger than us, you know, in Round Rock. So we're putting stuff on film that you're making opponents continue to work for on down the road. Everybody's just got so many minutes in the day, you know, that they can prepare. So it's just making your Huttos and your Cedar Parks and your Pflugervilles and Mainers and whoever, you know, on down the road have to use some of their practice time to work against that.
And, Coach, you talk about the matchup versus Stephenville. You know, even though in a large loss, but it's good mental and physical toughness now going to play against Hutto. Can you talk just about the mental and physical toughness of Georgetown in that game?
Sure. You know, you finish the first quarter, you know, and you're up 8-3, and things are about like what we thought, you know, going into the game. After that, you know, we give up a long touchdown pass where we had them, I think, about 2nd and 20, and we were fixing to sack them for you know, 3rd down and 30, or maybe 35. After that, we give up a contain, and he scrambles around, and we end up losing somebody in the secondary, and he throws a long touchdown pass. And, you know, then we come back down the field. We weren't able to convert on 4th down, you know, down on their end of the field, going in to score again. And then they punt. Our defense holds. They punt, go back down the other end of the field, and, you know, we throw a pick 6. Okay, we respond back from that. Again, drive down the field again. You know, they end up holding us on 4th down. So, you know, once things started rolling, you know, a little bit, it certainly took its toll, you know, once the night wore on, no doubt.
Well, Coach, we see that in the rallies through the first half. Stephenville led Georgetown 22-8. Can you talk about the mindset going into halftime and then eventually trailing 25-8? What did you tell the team there at halftime?
Sure. You know, we really felt like we had some mistakes, you know, in the first half that cost us. We were able to, you know, portray that to the kids, talk to them about that. I didn't see any panic, in our kids' faces at halftime. Then we came out in the second half and turned the ball over a couple more times, and things just don't go our way.
Well, the offense not able to find much rhythm. Things continue out of sync in the second half through that. And, again, not making this a negative show, just talking about those key points. But no points scored there in the second half. The defense allowing 23 more to set up a 48-8 final there at Stephenville. We talk a lot about things that we can continue to break apart. You can do that in any game. But there's also some positive things, Coach, that I wanted to pull out. So can you talk about some of the positives that you saw in that game?
Sure. A couple of things that I thought were positive. Again, defensively, I know the score doesn't reflect that, at the end of the game, but with the exception of 2 long touchdown passes that we ended up giving up, we played well defensively against a potent, offensive attack. I thought we contained the running game good. We knew going in the game that the running back was going to be somebody that we had to get after. I thought we tackled pretty well on the perimeter. I thought those were good. So just like you talked about, even when you're looking at some of the negative stuff, there's still things that you learn, from that. I don't know how many times that we've talked on this show about turnovers and how important turnovers are and the outcome they can have in the game. I told our booster club on Monday night that I would have used the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm not so sure that's a good example. So we'll go with the New England Patriots. If the New England Patriots turn the ball over 6 times and 2 of those are for touchdowns, more than likely they're not going to have a very good night. And that certainly holds true in high school football as well.
Well, that was my final question as we look back at the Stephenville game. The 6 turnovers, of course, not where you guys want to be. You talk and work hard to protect the ball, but there's some games where things are just going to happen and get away from you. You just talked about the turnovers. When you lose a turnover battle, a lot of times the final score dictates that. You made a good point about the defense still holding some of those turnovers, leading, of course, to points for Stephenville, quite a few of them. But what was really worked on during practice this week, talking about, without giving anything away versus Hutto, some things that you guys worked on this week to try to help protect the ball coming up here as district play starts?
Sure. A couple things. Defensively, Hutto is not nearly as aggressive as what we just got through seeing out of Stephenville. Stephenville, I talked a little bit about this last week, was a very aggressive, blitz, heavy team. Hutto is not that blitz heavy. Offensively, Hutto is fishing to be as explosive as anybody that we'll see all year long. They do a good job of spreading the ball around. They got 3 quality wide receivers. Got maybe the fastest player in Central Texas at running back, although he's not very big. Still a really explosive running back. And then got a quality quarterback that does a good job of getting the ball around. So we're going to have to mix things up defensively, to be able to try to keep that potent attack that they do offensively, try to keep that to a minimum.
Well, we'll talk about that here in just a few seconds now as we look ahead. Of course, Georgetown opening a District 11-5A Division I. Man, with the realignment, Coach, that's kind of a mouthful now. It used to be just 13-5A. Now it's District 11A or 11-5. I can't even say it. 11-5A Division I. Play this Friday here at home versus Hutto. Of course, Hutto came here to Georgetown last year and defeated the Eagles 25-23. They were seeking some revenge after we went to their house.
Sure.
The Hippos came out of the water, man. It was raining just like it was last year. The Hippos came out of the water, but we were able to put them back in the pond a little bit there a couple of years ago. So they're looking for a little revenge. Of course, they defeat us here at home, and then now this year starting, we will play them at home here again to start this off. Looking into that game, quickly becoming a rivalry game, if you will. Eastview no longer in the district here over the next 2 years. Hutto has several high-caliber players. You talked about them. Coach, obviously this week, though, Georgetown has to control the turnovers. Can you talk a little bit more, and we'll talk more about it with some of these other questions as well, but just kind of a brief description of the matchup versus Hutto coming up?
Sure. I think I've already talked a little bit about them, offensively, just extremely explosive. I think that's the best word to say. And they're not throwing the ball down the field, although they can do that, and they do that. That's not where a bunch of their explosive plays come from. We've got to tackle, this week, and we've got to tackle explosive players. I talked about Chucks just a little bit, the quality running back that does such a good job. He is, I don't know for sure. I haven't seen him on the scale, but I bet he weighs 145 pounds. He's not very big for a high school football player, but man, he is fast and he is explosive, and he's hard to tackle. So defensively, we've got to get a lot of our guys in space to be able to corral their explosiveness, or try to corral their explosiveness offensively.
Well, after starting the season 3-1, of course, we've mentioned it several times here tonight. Everybody knows district play starting on Friday. Coach, how important is it for you guys to come out? And it's one of these questions, it's when we interview and ask questions, sometimes I feel like we can just have a button. And that's why I appreciate you, Coach, because some coaches will be like, Rob, you ask me this every week. But we like to reiterate and talk about it. But you're starting out in district play here, Coach. How important is it to come out running strong here in this very tough and competitive district? Even though things have realigned, you've still got a very tough Hutto team that some would argue, and I would say is probably the toughest that they have been in a long time this year. You talk about Chooks Nubaga, you talk about Chase Griffin and those guys. So how important is it coming out of the gates here in this very tough district and playing a competitive and hard game and trying to get a W?
Well, you talked about the name of our district just a little bit there a minute ago. It's 11-5A Division I. And then I think you could even say after that, -A team. There's no doubt that I, along with several other coaches around our state and in our district, think that this is the toughest 5A district in the state of Texas, from top to bottom. We've already talked about Hutto. We know we've got Cedar Park in there. I think it's worth mentioning that you have the two 6A schools that have dropped down, that were competitive in 6A. Now they've dropped down to 5A. We know what kind of athletes those guys have. And then you go back and talk about Rouse and Pflugerville-Conley, that are both in that group. So an extremely tough district from top to bottom. I feel very fortunate that we get to play Hutto at home because I do think there's some home field advantage there. Anytime you're able to play at Birkelbach Field, we feel good about that.
Well, Coach, some players, we've talked about a couple of them. Can you kind of expand a little bit more about their running back, Chooks? We see him, that young man can run. You talked about, you look at him on a scale, you would say, man, this kid can't really – if you looked at the numbers, you wouldn't think so much. But then you start looking at how much he actually runs and what he can do and the damage that he can do. An all-star player. You talk about Chase Griffin at quarterback. Talk about those players and some other players that we should keep an eye out for on Hutto.
Sure. DJ Baptist, all-district returning receiver. Caleb Forrest, also all-district, returning receiver. One of the things that I think makes Chuck so dangerous is not just his running ability, but also his availability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Probably one of the very best things that he does. So they're big and physical in the offensive line. So just an assortment of issues, offensively that we have to be concerned about and that we've worked hard on this week for. Defensively, they're going to play a 3-4 defense, not as blitz heavy that we talked about. That Stephenville has done, but still very aggressive. I think their best thing that they do is their defensive line. They've got a sophomore. Number 21 that's been offered by I think maybe Texas and Oklahoma and has got several Division I offers out there. Is just a sophomore, so that tells you just a little bit about what kind of player he is. But their nose guard is a quality football player. The other defensive end does a great job. So they're stout in the defensive line, and then their secondary. I think is probably their second best trait. You got speed in the secondary, have some size at one of the corner spots. So they do a good job of covering field back there as well.
Coach, I said earlier this is a rivalry game. Is that kind of the attitude or the atmosphere that you feel as a coach, or your thoughts on that? I think a lot of folks in town kind of are starting to feel that way.
Sure. I think probably it's just because it's a one-horse town. Still, that's the only high school there in Hutto. So it's at least in my time here in Georgetown, last year was the first year that we have lost to Hutto since I think maybe since we've been playing them in 2012 was the first year that I played them. So last year was the first time that we had lost to them. We went over there last year and stole 2 years ago and stole a game from them. There at the end of it. So I'm sure some people would classify that as a rivalry game, no doubt.
I still go back and listen to the end of that. Matt Leishman went a little crazy, and I did too, Coach. But we didn't have any complaints, but it was a great game. And we want to see a good game coming up Friday. I believe we'll see that, Coach. What'd you tell your players? You're starting district play now. What do you tell the players? Is there kind of a different change of attitude as far as the mindset now that you go into district play?
Well, I'm not sure that you can say there's a different mindset. That would mean that we didn't take the other ones as serious as what we're taking this one. And when you're only guaranteed 10 games, they're all 10 important. No doubt that these games now, and it's something that we've talked about with our kids, these now start counting toward our district record. Those first 4 games are getting you ready for that district competition, but I certainly don't think your approach changes anything there. Our goal is to go and be 1-0 every single week, and that's kind of a buzzword now, but it's certainly something that we talk about a bunch. We want to go and be 1-0 this week. So Hutto is on our goal board, but the reason Hutto is on our goal board is because they're their very first district game. We want to win that first district game because it gives you now the leg up in the district standings going into the rest of the district schedule. It doesn't matter that it was Hutto. Cedar Park could have been in that slot. Rouse could have been in that slot. Pflugerville could have been in that spot. It wouldn't have mattered because it's the first district game. So that they're on our goal board.
Well, Coach, we played through 4 games now. As I've just got a few questions here for you. Your thoughts on so far those first 4 games and how Georgetown has played, going 3-1, pretty impressive at times as well. Let's give it up for Georgetown, though. 3-1 in the early 4 games. I think that's something to be commendable. A lot of teams would love to be in that position going into district. Can you talk about your thoughts on those first 4 games, Coach?
Sure. I think the thing that I'm most proud of at this point is I think we're still playing good defense. We're defending the run well. Anytime you can defend the run, you're going to have a chance to win games. Up until last Friday night, I would have bragged on our turnovers. Our turnover margin, we were ahead in that category, doing a good job there. But like with anything else, we took a step back, last week, and so now we've got to work hard and try to take another step forward this week.
Coach, couple last questions here. Overall health at this point with the team right now going into district play? Sure.
We're a little banged up. Last Friday night had a couple kids that didn't finish the game and still yet to be seen whether or not they're going to be able to play this week. So we're a little bit banged up.
And then, Coach, your final thoughts here on this matchup before we head out on Friday?
Sure. We talked about already the things that I would touch on again, which is the reason this was important because it's the next one. And we'll say that again next week. The reason Cedar Park is important because it's the next one, and then we'll say it again for Pflugerville, and then we'll say it again for Rouse and Manor and on down the road. So we just got to take that 1-0 mentality, into this week and go play good at Birkelbach Field.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up once again. Georgetown Eagle head football coach Jason Dean. Coach, we appreciate you and all the work this season. Thank you, Coach. Friends, I say this every single week. We are truly blessed with the best here in Georgetown with our coaching staff, the school system, everybody, the parents. You guys deserve a pat on the back as well. When you're out and around the community, you see these players here. Many of them that are here in this room and the players that aren't here, just going out and doing things, working the crossing guards of the elementary schools, just something that's unique about this community, and I think that's very commendable. Well, as we move into our favorite segment, every segment here is our favorite, but we move into our 3rd segment now as we talk to some of the players that are here in the Burger House today. Would you please join me in welcoming the SHN Sports Georgetown Eagle Defensive Player of the Game. Let's give it up for the senior, number 38, Nick Petter. Come on up, Nick. Nick, appreciate you being here, young man, and thank you guys for coming on a short notice. I kind of got wrapped up, and I said, man, it's Wednesday. I got to tell Coach who's coming this week, so thank you, Nick. Well, we're here with Nick Petter talking about the Stephenville game. Didn't lead all tacklers, but you had 7 tackles. We like to mix things up and get as many of you guys here throughout the season as we can, Nick, and you had a great game, 7 tackles. You've got 20 so far in the season through 4 games, averaging 5 a game. Before we get started, Nick, how long have you been here in Georgetown?
All 4 years.
4 years. Where'd you move from, man?
I've been here since I was born, but talking about mostly high school.
A native, man. It's a rare Georgetown native in the house. Come on, man. Well, talk about your senior year so far, Nick. You're a senior. You've been here for 4 years. You grew up in the community. Talk about your senior year and what really makes this so special for you.
It's the first year that I've had a position that I really like. I like the safety position. Last year I was at linebacker. Mm-hmm. And at safety, I like reading the field and coming down making plays.
What led to that change, and what do you enjoy most about that over being a linebacker in the years past?
The change came in spring ball. There was a shortage at safety, and they just kind of tried me out there, and stuck with it.
Awesome, man. Well, You know, of course, last week a tough loss. Can you talk a little bit about Stephenville and their toughness? That was a team that I think, in my opinion and Minnie's opinion, it's good conditioning for you guys to kind of get you prepared here in a very tough district. Can you talk about your thoughts on that Stephenville game and from a defensive perspective and what you saw?
Yeah, they're pretty tough. Definitely the run game was really strong. We were able to stop it most of the time. And on as far as like the pass, it was just small little things that we messed up on, and that's how they got those 2 big plays. It was just like a little assignments that people, even myself, messed up.
Well, can you talk about, you know, as we talked to Coach Dean, some things that you saw on the positive end, though, that worked well for you guys? Even in that loss, there's always something positive, some things that you saw.
I know for like me and especially the safeties, like even when we were down like it was like 40-8, we just went out there and I just told them it's 0-0. Just go out there, try and make a stop, try to get a turnover. That was the one thing that we harped on the whole game.
You know, anytime you lose, we're so accustomed to a lot of wins here in Georgetown. You know, a loss is always a tough thing. We're not going to sit there and dwell on that forever, of course. We believe in you guys and know that you guys, you know, the old phrase, the Eagle fight never dies. I've never seen it die as long as I was born and raised here, too, and I've never seen the Eagle spirit lost. Can you talk, though, a little bit about the attitude after that loss and kind of the mindset now going into this week, starting district play versus Hutto, Nick?
Yeah, definitely right after the game, we were kind of down. But all we had to do is look forward to this week because we still have district play, and so just ready for Hutto.
When you talk about Hutto, of course, 2 players on the offense. You can mention them if you want, but what are some things on the defensive end that you guys are going to be paying particularly close attention without giving the game away? We don't want to do that, but what are you going to be looking out for on Hutto's end?
Definitely Chooks, him coming out of the backfield. Not just from a running standpoint, but from the passing standpoint, he can get out and make some moves. And definitely the quarterback, he gets the ball out really fast. So,
well, as I've called these games, as we continue to talk to Nick Petter here, our defensive player of the game, you know, I always talk about the non-district games kind of as a preseason games. Can you talk about those 4 games and the importance of them for you guys now as you start here on Friday opening up district?
It was pretty good playing those first 4 games. We saw a lot of different offenses, able to adjust. It was just kind of getting in the motion of like seeing different offenses and putting on new defenses and getting in the habit of watching film.
Can you talk about some of the other guys on defense? You know, you've got some of your defensive teammates in here. Can you talk a little bit about the defensive line and what they've done and what they mean to you guys out there playing in the safety position?
Yeah, definitely defense line. Mason Meyer and Tyler Knowles, they're getting after the quarterback, disrupting some passes, letting us make some plays.
Where are the defensive guys? Can you raise your hand? We got a few in the house. Let's give these guys a round of applause. They've had a good one. Taco's in the house. I saw Taco. His mom had the cutout with the hot sauce on it this weekend. So, well, can you talk a little bit? We talked to Coach about this. How would you talk about practices this week and really rate what you guys have done this week during your practice sessions?
Just going full speed every rep. Even though you might be real tired, just paying attention and really absorbing all the information that the coaches are telling us.
Well, Nick, you mentioned some of this earlier, but just kind of going back and circling around, where do you feel on a personal level that you can improve, and then the rest of the defense?
For me, it's just some assignments I missed, just trying to really focus on those. And as the whole defense, the turnovers from last week, we didn't have any, and that's something that we need to fix this week for us to be successful.
Talk about some of the expectations that you have as the season continues, Nick.
Definitely get a lot of turnovers, play hard, even if we're down, and try to make big plays.
I got to ask you a question. Do you have a nickname on the team or not?
They just call me Petter.
No nickname. You guys got to come up with something for me. I don't have anything for Nick yet, so I shouldn't have asked him. See what happens, Nick. So. Well, can you talk about some of your influences and your role models growing up and really what led you to play football here at Georgetown and some of those role models that keep driving you?
Let me think. I know like one player that I followed a lot, Ray Lewis, the Ravens. That's why I wanted to play linebacker. And since then, I've loved football. Awesome, man. Well, future plans, where do you want to go to school? What would you like to do, man? Right now I'm playing lacrosse and trying to play somewhere there. I don't know really yet, but I'm trying to be a mechanical engineer. Awesome, man. Well, talk about – I'm glad you brought up lacrosse because, you know, it's a sport that's not
as far as I understand, it's not a UIL sanctioned sport. Can you talk a little bit about how that works? And I've interviewed some guys and even some girls who've played lacrosse. Can you talk a little bit more about lacrosse and how much fun that's been for you as well, and the differences of lacrosse versus football?
Yeah, you don't get that slot during school, so it's mostly all after school things, like even later. As usually we have practice around like 6:30 till like 8 or 9, so it's definitely a big time slot, and plus football in the morning and lifting. And I just have like a little bit of time for schoolwork, so it really helps me get like a good schedule down.
So you guys are going sun up I mean, you guys in high school are working harder than a lot of adults that I know. Man, you guys are out there doing more than I do, man, and I stay busy all the time. So I always commend, anyone in school and all the hard work. I don't think sometimes, unless you're a parent, of course you guys see it because you're the ones having to early on before they drive back and forth, and then as time goes on, you know how much time goes into sports and athletics. So. Well, the camera's on you right here. I didn't want to tell you because now I've turned it on. Who do you want to give a shout-out to tonight? Camera right there on you. Who do you want to give a shout-out to, Nick Petter?
Shout-out to Zane, Clough, Taco, Cohen, and Alex Steele.
Awesome. I think Zane just came to get the shout-out because when he walked in, he said, hey, give me a shout-out tonight. So I think that's why. Zane, thank you for coming, Zane. Let's give it up one more time. Georgetown Eagle Defensive Player of the Game. Another great young man, Nick Petter. Nick, thank you, young man. Appreciate you being here. I mean that. Zane walked in. He goes, hey, I need to get some shout-outs tonight. So we're glad you came, Zane. Good to see you, man. Zane's always bringing the life and the full energy to the team. Well, as we move on here, we definitely want to talk about some offense. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome a nice round of applause for the senior running back, number 8, Javante Rodan. Come on up, Javante. Javante, good to have you here, man. I got to tell you, I cover Southwestern football, and have you ever watched any Southwestern?
No, sir.
There's a guy on that team named Markel Henderson. I think you and Markel could probably be brothers, so you need to look him up, man.
Yes, sir, I will.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Javante, talk about, coming in to this versus Stephenville, your best game at the running back position. You're not normally the one who's out there carrying the ball primarily, but you had a great game, 7 carries, 68 yards. You had that long run of 29. We'll talk about your offensive line in a little bit because they were giving you some holes in that game to get some of those runs. Through 4 games, 19 carries, only 19 carries, but 162 yards. That's not bad for what you're doing on the ground. Javante, before we get started, how long have you been here in Georgetown? And if you weren't born and raised here, where'd you move from, man?
Last year was my first year. I came from Georgia. It was pretty fun up there, and I came down here and I enjoyed it so far. I love the culture. Georgetown is beautiful, and the people are wonderful, and they treat me just like family with my team.
Awesome, man.
Yes,
so
sir.
Your teammates didn't give you a checklist, did you? You're mentally going through checking off. Well, we're glad to have you here. A lot of folks moving to this area, and it's awesome because, coming from Georgetown or from Georgia to Georgia, you're still bringing a G, though, man, from Georgia to Georgetown.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
talk about the football difference, though, in Georgia versus what you see here in the state of Texas? Is it really that much bigger, or is that just all talk?
Oh, no, it's bigger. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's so much bigger. Georgia, the talent was pretty good down here, but when I got down here, it's totally different. It's a lot, the players are a lot bigger, all of that. Yes, sir.
Well, I was looking online, and no offense to any of our friends in other states, but someone was kind of boasting about their facility, and I was like, man, that's the top facility in the state. I won't say what state it was. It wasn't Georgia. But I was looking, I said, that's the top facility in that state. And I was like, man, we've got really awesome schools up the road like Gerald and 3A that have, in my opinion, a facility that was even better than that. So it's big in Texas, man, with football. Well, you also, though, you play a little basketball as well. Can you talk about basketball, man? Because that's really my favorite sport. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. Last year I played basketball for Georgetown. It was pretty fun. Yes, sir. I enjoyed it. It's not more than football, of course, but it was pretty fun.
Are you planning on playing this year as well?
I'm still debating.
Still debating.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
Well, Coach, he's still debating out there. So, as we talked with Nick earlier, a tough game versus Stephenville last week. Can you talk about, you're on the offense, so can you talk a little bit about their defense and maybe some of the struggles on the Eagles offense were having. I know there were some turnovers, but just talk about that game from your standpoint on the offensive end.
Their defense was coming down fast and strong. They had a strong blitz, and it was a lot of pressure on the QB, and running back had to pick up a lot of upcoming blitz. And it was kind of hard to, come in for the blitz, and that was pretty much it.
Well, you had that 29-yard run at one point in the game. Can you talk about your offensive line? Because if you go back and look at that highlight, many of your teammates on the offense making some awesome blocks for you. Talk about your offensive line and what they've meant to you guys this year.
They did great. I never have no doubt in my offensive line. They're pretty strong and fast and physical, and they're very smart with their blocks and creating holes for the running backs.
Well, this week, going to huddle, we've talked about it several times. Where would you like to see maybe some improvement on yourself and then through the rest of the team overall versus huddle this week?
I know we can improve on playing a lot more, having a lot more effort, and playing faster and executing more plays.
Well, as we continue to talk here to our offensive player of the game, Javonte Rodan, what are you looking forward to most about Hutto? Now you're starting the district, you're playing Hutto. I know from a student's perspective, your mind may get a little more excited thinking, man, we're finally getting to play some of the local talent that's in our district. Talk about what you're looking forward to most as district play starts now.
Of course, getting the wins and having a great district play and just enjoying it with my friends and, my football team.
Do you know any of the guys over at Hutto?
No, sir.
So nobody over there. Okay. How was practices this week from your perspective?
They've been doing great. We're putting in some new plays and just building off of what we did from last week and becoming stronger.
Awesome. Well, Javonte, talk about the expectations. We ask this every week, but I always like to hear everybody's perspective. I can't even say that word, man. Perspective on it. Talk about your perspective of the season and what you would like to see accomplished. Of course, winning district, things like that, but something besides that.
Of course, winning a state championship. We plan to bring that back home and just enjoying it at the end of the day, yes, sir.
Some of your influences, role models growing up?
Marshawn Lynch, yes, sir. That's mine.
Marshawn Lynch. Okay, cool, man. Future plans, where do you want to go to school at, man? What do you got your eye on right now?
I plan on going to UTSA, yes, sir. I plan on, and if not that, Blaine.
And you want to play football there?
Yes, sir. I plan on too.
Well, UTSA plays in the Alamo Dome, man, so we can definitely get down there and watch a few games. So we'll be hoping and praying for that, man. I think you got a good opportunity if you keep running the ball the way that you have been.
Yes, sir.
Well, finally, as we continue to talk here to Javonte Rodan, just one last time, your thoughts on Zane Haas wanting a shout-out tonight. I'm just kidding, Zane. I'm just kidding. No, you're fine. I'll get the camera's right there on you, man. Final shout-outs. Who would you like to say hello to tonight, man?
I would like to say hello to my father, if he sees it, my father and my mother. And shout out to Abel, Zane, Xavier, Elijah Clough, Taco, Jackson C. Elson, my boy, and, of course, Brunson, my boy.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Oh, can't forget, shout out to Guy.
Hey, there you
yes,
go,
sir.
man. Hey, what's your nickname? Yeah, what's your nickname, man? I need to know that.
They've been waiting for it. Sheila Vontae.
Wait,
yes,
what
sir.
is this?
Sheila Vontae.
Sheila Vontae?
Yes, sir.
Sheila Vontae.
She love Vontae.
Wait, she love Vontae?
She love Vontae.
She love Vontae.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we'll figure out how to put that into the game somewhere. She love Vontae. All right,
sir.
man. Well, let's give it up once again. If you can sit right here because we're going to do a little trivia, but let's give it up once again for Sheila Vontae Rodan up here tonight. We appreciate you. Every week we do a little trivia here, so if we can bring up both the offense and the defense. Offensive guys sit here with Javonte. Defense, and be careful of the cameras, you guys. Man, Taco's all into this. He's wearing a Taco Dream shirt tonight. My goodness. Well, this part of our show, friends, as we wind down, we've got this segment and then a final segment with Pete Thill with the Georgetown Booster Club. But we like to do a little trivia challenge here as we bring on offense versus defense. I've got the answers back here, so as always, I put up my screen. I was worried about Jackson last week, peeking over, but he didn't. So thank you, Jackson. Appreciate that. As we look, of course, last year the defense won overall. Last week the offense won. You go ahead and take that right there, Taco. The offense won last week. A couple of weeks ago, we always bring this up. I'm going to bring up every weekend. You know, Taco didn't get much support, but he finally got you guys to start coming, so thanks for being here for Taco and supporting him. He's bringing the hot sauce now. Last week, of course, had another good showing of support. The defense won 3-2. So now the offense and the defense currently tied at 5 apiece. Before we get started, can you guys each say your names, if you don't mind? Javante, go ahead and say your name, and we'll pass it around here, just so we know who's all up here. So say your name and position.
Javante Rodin, running back.
And you can just kind of hold it there for now.
Xavier Torres, running back. Jacob Ramos, quarterback.
Abel Morales, wide receiver.
Alex Thiel, O-line.
Jackson Seosin, quarterback.
Oh, hold on, Taco. I had you turned off. Go ahead, Taco. The hot sauce is on now. Go ahead.
Taco Williams, defensive back.
Elijah Club, defensive back.
Cohen Ward, defensive back.
Matt Anderson, linebacker.
Awesome. Hey, and Elijah, I got to apologize. You know, it took me 2 games to get your name right, so we finally got it right, Elijah. So we were saying Kloof, man. So, in fact, Zane Haas told me to say that, by the way. So, thanks a lot, Zane. All right, guys. Well, here we go with the trivia here. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to have 10 to 15 seconds each to answer. This week it's a little NCAA trivia. And so I wanted to bring in a little college here tonight. I'm going to start here with the offense, but again, 10 to 15 seconds. The microphone's on, so don't say the answer if you think you know it. Keep it to yourself on the offense and the defense, and then we'll say it here at the end. Which team, there's going to be 4 multiple choices here out of 5 questions, which team has the highest total wins in the FBS? Which team has the highest total number of wins in the FBS? 4 options: Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama. I was trying to say it like 4 is ago. Alabama and Michigan. 4 of them. So we'll give you 10 seconds. Again, which team has the highest total of wins? Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, or Michigan? And there is no town as Greenbow, Alabama. That was just made up. So I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. We'll start with the offense. Go ahead.
Ohio State.
Okay. Defense.
We're going to go with Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Both of you guys are both wrong. It was Michigan. Michigan. The Wolverines, man. 5-5. We continue here. Which team has had the most players drafted in the first round of the NFL draft? Which team has had the most players drafted in the first round? They also have over 500 total drafts as of 2017. Pretty spectacular number. 4 choices here: Alabama, USC, Ohio State, or Miami and Florida. Again, Alabama, USC, Ohio State, or Miami and Florida. Which team has the most number of first-round NFL drafts? First round. Taco looks pretty serious over here, guys. Clough, you got to tell him what's going on here. He's. We'll give you 8 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, defense.
All right, we're going to go with USC.
USC for the defense. Offense.
Miami.
Miami. The defense got it right, baby. Defense takes the lead now, 6-5. They regain the lead overall in the season. Remember, guys, this is a running total that takes place, and we'll give you a trophy for the offense or the defense at the end of this one. 3rd question here. 3 more questions to go. Defense leading now 6-5. Defense leading 6-5. Which team has been to the most bowl games? Which team, the most bowl games? Is it A, Alabama, B, Texas? You can't say it with just one. Texas, C, USC, or D, Nebraska? Again, most bowl games: Alabama, Texas, USC, and Nebraska. Which one the most bowl games? Most bowl games. Give you 8 seconds to go. 8 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1. And we'll give you 2 more seconds. 2, 1. All right, we'll send it to the offense.
We're gonna go with Nebraska.
Nebraska, okay. Defense.
We're going to go with Alabama.
Man, the defense coming alive. 7-5, the defense. 2 more questions. An opportunity for the offense to tie it up. You're behind by 2 now. Question number 4. Which team has the highest winning percentage in the FBS? Highest winning percentage in the FBS. Notre Dame, Alabama, Michigan. I don't know. It's just kind of fun to say that. Michigan or Ohio State. Again, Notre Dame, Alabama, Michigan, or Ohio State. 4th question. Highest winning percentage in the FBS. Notre Dame, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. All right. And we will give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. I will send it to the defense.
All right. We're going to go with Ohio State.
Ohio State offense.
Ohio State.
You both are wrong. It was Michigan. 73%. Kind of a trick question if you think about it, because Michigan has the highest total wins.
Yeah.
A little trick question there for you.
I was even thinking about
7-5, it continues for the defense. Final question here tonight in the all-important trivia challenge. As what was it again, Rodan? What was that nickname again?
Sheila Vontae.
Sheila Vontae. I'm gonna tell my girlfriend when we get married and have a daughter, I'm gonna name her Sheila Vontae. All right, here we go.
That'd be great.
Number 5 here. Final question, guys. Which team has won the most overall conference championships? The most overall conference championships. And it's out of these 4. Ohio State, USC, Oklahoma, or Nebraska. Again, Ohio State, USC, Oklahoma, or Nebraska. Which team? And it's not just one conference. We're talking overall. A lot of these teams have been in multiple conferences over the years. So which one? Which one? Keep in mind that all of these teams, multiple conferences. So if you're going on that, I'm just going to give you a hint. Doesn't matter about the actual conference.
Can you repeat those one more time for me?
One more time here for Taco. Free. He's using a lifeline here one more time. Ohio State, USC, Oklahoma, or Nebraska. Most overall conference championships. Anybody in the audience happen to know this one? Don't say it. Raise your if you think you know it. Anybody?
What is it?
All right, we'll go back to the offense who's trailing 7-5. Sheila Vontae and his friends over here. Sheila Vontae. Sheila Vontae. We'll make up a whole country song about that. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. Javante? Go for it.
All right, we're going to go with Nebraska.
Nebraska. Okay, defense.
Ohio State.
Offense got it. It was Nebraska. 46 titles in 4 different conferences.
Wow.
The corn is good in Nebraska. All right, so it is now the defense leading 7-6. So the defense is up. Let's give it up for these guys again, your Georgetown Eagles. We appreciate them. Taco, appreciate you guys. Good luck versus Hutto. Georgetown's got your back, and we will be supporting you guys as always. Thank you, Javante, and appreciate you guys for being here tonight. We will let them head down as we are close to wrapping up here. But the moment everybody has been waiting for, can you please give a round of applause? And the Georgetown players, give him a big, loud round of applause as well. Let's give it up for your booster club, Pete Thill. Hey! Hey, Georgetown players, can y'all give it up one more time for Pete Thill? Let's hear that loud. Hey! There it is. I just wanted him to hear him do that again. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. I just had to get him. Well, Pete Thill, the Booster Club president here, we appreciate all the fine work that you do, Pete, making my job pretty simple. Thank you for helping out whenever you're here with us. Pete, you know, good game, big game coming up here on Friday. There's going to be another awesome tailgate. Tell us about that. Tell us what's going on at the Booster Club this week.
All right, I'm going to start with tomorrow, and then we'll move our way through time, forward. We have the JV games tomorrow. The Silver plays at 6 o'clock at Hutto. The schedule that was put out before the season says 7 o'clock, so that's a change. So just to be aware of the time change, 6 o'clock in Hutto. JV Blue plays tomorrow, I believe against Copperas Cove, and that'll be at the track, at the football field in the track. Freshman games tomorrow. Freshman White plays at 5:30 against Hutto. Blue plays after that game is over. Those will be on the main field at Birkelbach.
Okay, so those will be at Birkelbach. So, yeah,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, if you can get out there and support
The Booster Club is to support all the kids in the whole programming. We want as many people as we can tailgating, as many people as we can here. We filled the restaurant again for the second week. That's awesome. On Friday, we have taco breakfast for the boys. Parents are welcome to come. 8 o'clock in the classroom. Then at 9:27, there's a pep rally. So for all home games this year, we have pep rallies.
So 9:27 a.m.
9:27 in the morning for be 1 hour. Then we'll do tailgating at 5:30. It's at the football shed, which is between the main stadium, between Birkelbach Stadium and the baseball field. I've gotten two different reports on what we're going to have. It's either going to be sausage wraps or pulled pork.
Nice.
It'll be one of those. Roland Moreno has done a fantastic job setting up the tailgates. Had a lot of people at Heart 8 Barbecue up in Stephenville. We're glad to see people there. And that's what we have going.
I thought the Heart 8, I thought it was Heartache. And,
when I talked to Ron, he said heartache, maybe it'll give you a heartburn. I said, no, it's hard 8. They raise bucking bulls.
Well, one thing I did want to mention, you talked about Roland Moreno. Can you talk about some of the other guys? Because, ladies and gentlemen, can we give a round of applause for the guys that do the tailgates? I don't think that they get enough credit. Thank you guys for what y'all do. Can you talk about some of those other guys that help out with that? Because it is truly an awesome event and amazing food as well.
Yep. Roland is the one that coordinates our tailgates. Ed Albrecht is there all the time to help. I'm going to miss some names, and I apologize. Frank Miranda is in charge of setting up the stadium for games. He is in charge of getting the trailer that has all of our stuff for game day on there, the feathered flags, the banners that are put up at all the games. Ed Albrecht helps with that as well. David England comes and helps with those. I know
a big group. A lot of folks help make that. Yeah.
But Frank Miranda is the one that coordinates the G crew, which are the guys with the inflatable. So
Awesome.
Frank does that. Roland is in charge of all the tailgating.
Well, before we sign off, I wanted to send a special shout-out and thank you to Michael Francis, who's been joining me in the booth here in these first 4 games. He is actually from Rouse, so he's been coming to help out with Georgetown as much as he can, so we sincerely appreciate you, Michael. Thanks for the 4 games that you did here. He also works with me at Southwestern, but an awesome guy. Great to have him here in Georgetown. I think we may have converted him to a Georgetown Eagle, so we're glad for that, Michael. And then secondly, also, some big news. Michael's going to go now and help with Gerald with their broadcast as we have some sponsors for the Gerald Cougars just north of us to our good friends there in Gerald. But the moment many of you have been waiting for, the newly retiree Officer Kelly Duvall will now be the color analyst on SHN Sports. So we're excited, Kelly, to have you. We've been waiting for Kelly, and he's going to be joining us, so we're very excited about that. Pete, I also wanted to remind everybody, especially those on the web stream and those here in the audience, if you follow us on YouTube, if you subscribe to us on YouTube, it's youtube.com/SHN Sports and the number 1. So youtube.com/SHN Sports 1. Subscribe to us there. You'll get alerts as soon as we go live, which is nice. You can watch it on your Roku, smart TV devices, your laptop, your cell phone. Wherever you're at and you have YouTube, you'll be able to listen and then watch games after.
If you go to
midnight.
our website, to georgetownfootball.com, there's a link at the bottom of the page below the coach's direction that will take you to the SHN website. So you can, or I don't know if it's a YouTube or your website, but it will get you from the Georgetown football site onto SHN Sports.
Awesome. Well, before we sign off, a round of applause for Carmen and the wonderful staff here at Burger U. Thank you, girls. We appreciate you. See, they don't even turn because they're focused on working. That's the way it should be. But we appreciate Burger University. And remember, friends, this game coming up, we will be at home, 7 p.m. kickoff versus the Hutto Hippos. Yep. The water is draining. The Hippos are coming out. We got to take care of them here at Birkelbach. Look forward to seeing you. And as I end every single broadcast, remember, we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. Somebody here in Georgetown need you tonight. Until then, God bless you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Friday. And
Support
remember,
Georgetown.
Jack Frost, as he always says, say it with me, friends. Eagle fight never dies on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Eagle fight never dies. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks a lot, Rob.